This is how I built the $15,000 Trinity knot table. I went down to Central America and handpicked all these slabs. And one of my favorite ones, I set up in front of the window so everyone could see it. The sun hit it, the resin that was setting up at the bottom, and it fell over and cracked about 2 feet up. And someone came in the next day and said, "Hey, I need a 10-foot slab. I want that one." And it ended up working out perfectly. They saw one of the Celtic tables we had done before, and they picked out this design. We started cutting it and had a blowout. Fortunately, we found the piece, and I was able to use some wood glue and some CA glue, reattach the piece right on the crack. So when we went ahead and started to resin it, I knew it was going to hold pretty tight. There's a lot more steps that goes into a table than a lot of people realize, and I tried to document all of them and show them here. Whenever I do the design, I center it where I want it on the grain. Before I flatten the table, I always cut a little extra deep, so we pour a little extra resin. So when we go to flatten it, we still have roughly about 1/2 to 3/4 inch of resin. And this is where we flatten the bottom of it. Tuck tape for the win always holds very strong for us. We didn't have any leaks. Right here, I was having an issue with the micro holes, so I just laid on the table and drilled slightly holes bigger. Then we went ahead and resined them with the UV resin, probably about 40 of them. Sanded them down, and it ended up coming out really well. These pieces I also imported from Central America. I love the scale chainsaw. We're cutting around 7 degrees here. That way they sort of resemble stilettos on the bottom of a shoe. That's how I look at it. The tabletop is the dress, and the legs are the shoes. I'm using my Powermatic shaper here, about a 1/2 inch round over on the edges. And then we'll go back and hand sand the edges, sort of giving it the rough but smooth look at the same time, not as hard. Using the brackets. Just made a little jig the size of the bracket, routed out into the actual base rather than the tabletop this time, because the tabletop was a little thinner. Here I am doing the Rubio monocoat. We created a color. The color matched the chairs they had, so it'd be really, really close. Using the furniture thread inserts, super durable. Always use the stainless ones and not the zinc ones. The zinc ones usually strip pretty easily, so I always try and make sure I use the solid stainless ones. We use wood glue whenever attaching them in there with them. Grinding out the middle of the bottom of the bases so there's no rocking really. I had to create a jig to take off about a 32nd of an inch on the bottom using the table saw and my bandsaw. It worked out pretty well. Squaring the design to the edge of the table on the live edge, this is how I do it. I use a giant square, then a smaller square, and then run the track saw to the exact length that I want, rather than using the live edges. That way I get a perfect square, and routing the edges with a 1/4 inch on the bottom and a 1/8 inch on the top, and I go back and I round it all by hand. Here I'm using the dark roast Rubio, and I'm combining it with the pure hard wax, and I was able to get the color that I wanted and match the chair roughly. Whenever I apply it, I like to do it by hand and apply excess amount. Spread it around with the gloves, make sure we get all the spots, and then I'll take the buffer and I'll go back and get the whole table. I don't know why. I don't know if this works better. I just like to do it this way for the first coat. And it seems to turn out pretty well. So we had a lighter dark roast color here. Matched the chair really well. Love the grain on this table. It really, really makes it pop. And that's just the first coat. It came out to match the chair pretty well. Doing the same for the top. Waited, I believe, a couple days, and we flipped it. And then we did the first coat for the top. Again, apply by hand, scrape it, just very satisfying. Buff it, wait for it to soak up everything, and then we come back and we take off the excess. For the second coat, I like to apply as minimal as possible, so I just take the stick and throw it on there like a true artist would. And now you really start to see that grain pop. It's beautiful. Take the rag, apply it to the polisher, and we just buff off the extra right there, and it just works really well doing it this way. I had extra help on this one. We have about 18 tables we're trying to get out right now, and this was priority one. Dabbing up the cocoa roast, the dark roast, the natural wax oil. I intentionally did the top a little lighter. I wanted it, I just wanted it to pop a little more, and I knew if I did it too dark, it wouldn't pop as hard. We're taking the Scotch Brite. We're going over the second coat with the Scotch Brite pad right here. And what we're going to do is take the maintenance oil for the final coat before we apply the nano coating. I didn't video the nano coating on this. After we did the final coat of maintenance oil, we had a crack appear, and I didn't document any of it because I was so mad. And we basically had to sand it down and refinish it again. And I just did it without worrying about recording it. After the bases, I have the brackets applied. I sit it on the table, square it to the edge, mark the holes, then drill them out the depth of the furniture threads. And then we do the same process as we did for the actual bases themselves. We glue it, the furniture threads, we tighten them by hand. I like to tighten them by hand. I'll use a drill, then I always tighten by hand after the drill. So hand, drill, then back by hand. Make sure they don't strip this way, and then it makes sure that they're as tight as possible and it's as sturdy as possible. So we finally got it done. We flip it over, and it is delivery day. We're taking this to the mountains of North Georgia. This customer knew exactly what they wanted. And fortunately, we were able to provide exactly what he wanted. And this is where it's going in the house. We built this truck like a jig. We set it up coffee table height and dining table height with carpeted edges, so we could strap it in there and not have to worry about scratching or anything like that. We have our little 4-wheel dollies. This one, the way the door is, we have to carry it from truck all the way in. It's about 350 pounds, this table, 400 pounds. So it took all 5 of us to get it in there and turning it sideways as we go in. And there we go, setting it in place. About 80 hours worth of work, designing, sanding, more sanding, edging, polishing, measuring, cutting. We always do practice cuts for the design. It took us about 3 practice cuts on separate plywood before we got the design right, and was the one we ended up going with. We chose it. Here we're centering in his house. I put the legs in 24 inches in from the outside because he wanted to have 5 tables on the side. So I wanted to make sure there was enough room for that 5th chair, so he could do 5 and 5 on each side. The 10-foot table, and he could put them on the edge as well. So everyone had enough leg room. Polishing it up, finishing it up, making sure it's good to go. Came out beautiful. We were really happy with how this one came out. Les was happy too. So thank you for everyone tuning in. 101 Woodworking.